the European Union concludes an agreement, for example, on the import of South American foodstuffs into Europe, according to the European Constitution currently in force, every country must vote on this in its own national parliament. They say it needs to be ratified. No one can take this right away from us. How can they possibly take this right from us? They have come up with a regulation that is completely contrary to the European Union's constitution, which states that this is true, but until this actually happens, the Commission, and this specifically means Mrs. von der Leyen, can temporarily put into effect the agreement that we have not approved. This is what happened. This is what the debate is about. This battle is unfolding because the Commission wants to provisionally implement a treaty that not only we won't vote for, but other countries won't either. These are the hidden battles taking place in Brussels. In my opinion, there's a chance if farmers stand up for themselves. But Brussels politicians aren't as brave as they make themselves out to be in press conferences. When farmers come together, they usually back down. A pan-European farmer alliance is needed. And then I believe European farmers can be saved at Russia's borders because the Russians will always react to this with war.
For this reason, there must always be something, a buffer zone between Russia and the West, including Hungary, along Hungary's eastern borders.
And we should agree that this land called Ukraine was a buffer zone. Now it will be a war zone. How will it become a buffer state again? A peaceful, developing country subject to influences from all sides, integrating them into its policies, a country in a unique position.
This is what we are able to achieve. If this is not the alternative, then it's continuous war.
Many of us here who...
We've been married for a while.
I'm approaching the age of 40. In marriage, you learn that peace and quiet are more important than the truth.
The situation before us is this. I suggest to you that we should not now be seeking the truth in this particular conflict, but rather focus on how peace can be achieved and how the serious dangers can be reduced to the absolute minimum.
Now, this is the big connection.
When you are panicked, when you hear news reports, the security guarantees from here and there, then keep this context in mind. You can place the daily news into this and then everything becomes clear, which perhaps at first glance isn't obvious from the news feed. In Hungary, no.
The thing is, as I mentioned, I've come here to you from the Brussels talks. This is a war council, so in Brussels today there are no prime minister summits, but war councils.
What European Union's leaders have decided that Russia will be defeated in a war on the Ukrainian front. A decision on this has been made.
You saw some edited clips here. Before I could come in to join you there, you could see whatever it takes for as long as it's needed. Weapons, money.
What's more, there's a signed agreement that if needed, they'll send troops to Ukraine. Also, Europe isn't going into war, it's already there. It's already at war. Brand new undisclosed information leaked yesterday on Politico. Perhaps I shouldn't even be showing this here. This is a plan about how much money the Union wants to give to Ukraine. This is the Commission's. It's no longer about what we think here in Budapest or how cleverly we figured out what would happen, but it's written down exactly what will happen. This is the Commission's document.
It's too long. I'm not going to read it aloud.
However, this endeavor, and by that I mean the rebuilding of Ukraine, would require the mobilization of approximately $800 billion in capital. The document then goes on to explain how we are going to generate $800 billion for the Ukrainians. All this within the framework of a so-called Ukrainian welfare program, and then quite slyly. You can see that my work is not an easy one either. Here, at the bottom, in small print, in a footnote, it's also written that this $800 billion does not include military expenditures because that is a separate item. According to the Ukrainian government, based on the current situation, this could exceed $700 billion. So we are looking at a total of $1,500 billion. So that we don't misunderstand the situation, this excellent document states that, of course, beyond that, this money must be collected for Ukraine. Part of this fundraising war plan is also to aim for Ukraine. It's written here to join the European Union by 2027. That's next year.
This is reality.
So if someone wants you to believe that Ukraine's European Union membership, which by the way destroys Hungarian agriculture and takes all our money, is in the misty, distant future, don't believe them, because it's planned for 27, early 28. And now in the spirit of universal Catholic brotherhood, I would also like to tell you that while these dangers threaten us from Ukraine,
While the Ukrainians are trying to drag us into the war, while they speak to us in a suspicious and disrespectful manner, at the same time, in Hungary today, we are providing care for 30,000 Ukrainian refugees. Meanwhile, Ukraine receives a significant portion of its energy supply from us. It gets 40% of its electricity from us. And if we didn't supply them with gasoline, their vehicles simply wouldn't run. So I want to tell you that while we are firm defending our interest, we won't yield. Meanwhile, we have a heart, and what a person in need must be given, we will provide, even if they are Ukrainian. So it's not a simple matter. So everything we see today from the American president and around him, all of it is completely unusual for us. We are not accustomed to this. Furthermore, we are, as you know, Central Europeans. We possess our very own distinct cultural code system, which fundamentally dictates how we conduct ourselves. And I can confidently assert that this particular system is quite different from the code system that the American president typically operates and functions within. This is also due to the fact that Americans are only capable of speaking in superlatives. Everything's great, fantastic, outstanding. It never truly was. These are the most modest descriptions, aren't they? A Hungarian cannot speak like this, because a Hungarian would perhaps perceive this as boasting. That's why Hungarians prefer a certain sense of restraint, a well-founded, self-assured, yet still modest approach, considering it proper in our conduct and in international interactions as well. But all of that is over now. An American businessman has arrived who claims that nothing great and fantastic has ever been, nor will it ever be, as good as what is right now before us. And you can smile, the Europeans are smiling too, out of such academic arrogance. Well then,
But what is the actual reality? The reality is that NATO has completely and utterly failed.
it hadn't been working for a long time. Member states weren't even spending 2% of their budget on military, despite their commitment. Then this president came. Say what you will. What's the spending now? 2%. In fact, we've already pledged 3.5%. So he saved NATO. And then you can say about the American president that he's like this, like that, and has these fantasies, for example, about real estate development in the Gaza Strip. I also saw an excellent presentation on this in Davos. You can say that, but not long ago, thousands of people were killing each other there. That's over. Oh, there is peace there now. People are no longer killing each other. And from Venezuela, tons and tons of drugs were being shipped to the Western world, to America. Now that has finally come to an end. So this is simply what I know. Iran represented a continuous threat. Iran is currently in a weakened state. All I can say is that while Westerners make sarcastic remarks about the American president, the truth is that every international institution which operated in a well-mannered European academic style for the past 30 years became paralyzed and yielded no results. One man completely messed up the whole thing, and now we're seeing the consequences. Well, maybe he wanted to take all of Iceland. No, I'm sorry, all of Greenland, and just drop it like a massive ice cube into his glass of whiskey. Yes, that's entirely possible. And he might not be able to put it in, but that ice flow will be his from now on. And what will happen there? Let's be absolutely certain of that. This, of course, will take place within a NATO framework, but everything that is strategically important to the United States from a military standpoint will still occur there. What's more, I suggest we don't get caught up in these stylistic tones, but instead let's look at the essence of the situation. There is an American president who has decided that he will not merely pass his time in office, but he intends to get things done, to solve problems, and to achieve his objectives. And he set out, and he is doing just that. And if we're lucky, he might even achieve a result in the Ukrainian-Russian war. We don't know that. It would be good. It would save us, because it's certain that Westerners, no Western Europeans, will achieve no results. I see this colleague Zelensky is threatening. I tend to think he's my 5th Ukrainian president.
I won't bring any more humorous folk sayings here, but then there's the old frog who stands on the mountain top.
All right then. So here's the first thing. My 5th president, I've already presented one half of our arguments.
We are living in an age of dangers, and there will be even more perilous moments. There is a direct threat of war looming over us. Young people are threatened by the danger of serving in war, the danger of military service, and all of us are threatened by economic collapse. If we do not resist everything that Brussels and the future puppet government, whose representatives are sent here from Brussels, want to impose.